Hello and welcome to Spectrum News at 12. I am Ubong Kings, reaching from the beautiful hills of Ibiakuran. First, let's take a look at the headlines. Nigeria's public debt to hit 50 trillion naira by 2023. More than 1 million Nigerians in Italy affected by passport scarcity. Police arrest 14-year-old over Texas convenience store shooting. Details of these stories and more in a moment. We begin this afternoon with a report that the federal government is looking to push Nigeria's public debt stock to 50.22 trillion naira by 2023, with domestic debt at 28.75 trillion naira and external debt at 21.47 trillion naira. This is according to the projections in the National Development Plan 2021 to 2025. The Debt Management Office says Nigeria's public debt was 38 trillion naira as of the end of the third quarter of 2021, with the total debt stock rising by 2.54 trillion naira in the 3 months from July to September 2021. Analysts say the development shows that the regime of President Muhammadu Buhari plans to accumulate about 12 trillion naira debt in 2 years from 2021 to 2023. And away from that, a global movement of people fighting inequality to end poverty and injustice known as Oxfam has called on the federal government to reject the Council of the International Monetary Fund (IMF) calling on West African countries to introduce severe measures as a way to debt recovery. The country director, Oxfam International, Dr. Vincent Ahonsi, who made the call in Delta State at the Stakeholders Dialogue on the Petroleum Industry Act 2021, facilitated by Oxfam, warned that the effects of the prolonged inequality will be worst felt by the vulnerable and marginalized people, including women, older people, racial and ethnic minorities, and informal workers. Adding that the group is advocating for medium to long-term recovery plans and interventions that will promote further fiscal and policy space that allows for an increase rather than a decrease in social spending, progressive tax policies that collect sufficient revenue and redistribute wealth fairly to all. And elsewhere, the southern chapter of the Coalition of Nothing Groups has threatened to stage protests if the federal government goes ahead with plans to withdraw fuel subsidy by 2022. This is contained in a statement signed by the group's coordinator Alhaji Yakubu Aliyu and made available to journalists. Describing the move as disturbing by the group, it stated that the policy to pay monthly a few millions of Nigerians 5,000 naira each to cushion the usual attendant harsh effects of the pump price increase will lead to hyperinflation, and therefore urged the federal government to desist from the move. Meanwhile, a communal clash was averted in Pampo village, Afon district headquarters of the Asa local government area of Kwara State, following the killing of a Fulani herdsman, Yao Ibrahim, whose corpse was discovered in the bush on Christmas Day. Kwara State Police Public Relations Officer Ajayi Okonsami, who confirmed the incident, said the quick intervention of the police prevented what could have been a communal clash between the Fulani herdsmen and the people of the community, adding that the suspect has been arrested in connection with the crime. And in a related development, The Nigeria Security and Civil Defense Corps (NSCDC) has confirmed the arrest of 3 suspected bandits who fled Magami area, Zamfara, as a result of heavy security presence. NSCDC Public Relations Officer Iko Che, who confirmed the development at a news conference, noted that the suspects were arrested at the State Mass Transit Motor Park in Gusau yesterday while trying to board a vehicle leaving for Taraba to join other members who had already relocated. Reports say the suspects have been engaged in cattle rustling in all the villages around the local government. And in Ogun State, Governor Prince Dakpo Abiodun has reiterated his administration's commitment to complete road projects awarded but abandoned by the immediate past administration, adding that the roads have direct socio-economic benefits on the residents of the state. Speaking further, the governor said more funds will be allocated to the ongoing construction of 53-kilometer Lafenwa-Ayetoro Road to ensure its timely completion. The governor noted that the drainage along the road had been redesigned to accommodate more water, adding that a canal on the road will be dredged with a retaining wall built to ensure that the water flows freely. And away from that, the leadership of Ayamasa Federated Community in Ekeramo local government area of Bayelsa State has berated the people of Tuomo community in Burutu local government area of Delta following their protests and threats to shut down the Tuomo location A and B oil wells operated by the Nigeria Ajib Oil Company, adding that they have no basis to issue threats as they are not the landowners. Reacting to protests by Tuomo community, the paramount ruler of Ayamasa community, His Royal Highness Moses Oyasheye, and the chairman of Federated Ayamasa community said that Tuomo community was taking advantage of the cordial, free and fair benevolence of Ayamasa community is offering to them. The leaders of Ayamasa community therefore called on Nigeria Ajib Oil Company to ignore the threats and protests of Tuomo community and stop further dealings with them in respect of the locations and oil wells, adding that the naming of the oil wells after Tuomo does not mean that they are the rightful landowners. About 814 Bayelsa youths trained in various skills have been presented with starter packs as a way of making them self-reliant rather than depending on handouts from politicians. Speaking during the graduation ceremony, Governor Doye Diri encouraged youths to shun acts of criminality and take advantage of government's plans and programs to give their lives a meaning. He commended the initiator of the scheme for changing the narrative about constituency in southern Ijo from being an area known for criminality to an entrepreneurial hub. The training program, which was initiated by Charity Godwin, member of the Bayelsa State Center for Women Development, representing Southern Ijo Constituency 4, is aimed at providing the beneficiaries employment and eradicating poverty. Now to other stories. A group known as Kinindi Old Students Association has called for the release of the kidnapped Plateau traditional ruler Charles Mato Dakat, paramount ruler in Kinidiri Mangu local government area of the state, abducted last Sunday by gunmen who attacked his palace. In a statement issued in Jos, the Gindiri Old Students Association prayed that the abductors reconsider their stand and immediately release the monarch, who they described as a rallying point for unity and progress of not only the PM people, but Mangu local government and the country at large. The body, however, called on government and relevant security agencies to swing into action to secure the release of the missing chief. Reports say that thugs have allegedly invaded the venue of the People's Democratic Party (PDP) Congress in Zamfara State and disrupted the proceedings. Eyewitness reports say the PDP members had to relocate to an army hotel in the state capital to hastily conduct the Congress, adding that PDP officials in the state were unsettled and could not comment on the incident. And on to education now. The Abia State University Uturu has sacked a senior lecturer in the Department of Mass Communication, Dr. Michael Ukwaigbo, for alleged involvement in sex for grade in the university. Also sacked was Leonard Chukwume for alleged fraud and admission racketeering. The sack was ratified in a communique issued by the Registrar and Secretary to the Council, Dr. Acho Elendu, by the University's Council at its 148th regular and resumed meetings held on Thursday, 16th and Monday, 20th December 2021 at the University Council Chamber and chaired by its chairman and pro-chancellor, Senator Adolphus Nwabara. Meanwhile, the university also ratified the appointment of distinguished Professor Ogbonna Onoha, a professor of linguistics and Igbo, as substantive deputy vice chancellor administration, and approved the regularization and confirmation of some staff which have been outstanding for several years. A tourist expert and chief executive officer of Akwa Ibom Development Company, Joseph Utin, has called for investments in the tourist sector to boost economy and development in the state. Speaking on Spectrum Television Rise and Shine program, Utin said that the sector in the state required serious attention by both government and individuals, and called on Akwa Ibom government, I beg your pardon, to embrace domestic tourism while waiting for international tourism doors to be open. Narrating the impact of the pandemic on tourism, he said that the impact of the pandemic has brought a huge loss not just to Akwa Ibom, but to the global economy. And in Africa, Tutu's foundation says the funeral of late Archbishop Tutu will hold on New Year's Day at St. George's Cathedral in his former Cape Town parish, adding that ceremonies are likely to be muted because of COVID-19 restrictions. South Africa had earlier begun a week of mourning for the revered anti-apartheid campaigner Archbishop Desmond Tutu, who passed away on Sunday at the age of 90, stripping the world of a towering moral figure and the last great protagonist of a heroic South African era. Reports say the bells of St. George's will ring for 10 minutes from noon each day until Friday, adding that the cathedral has asked those who hear the sound to pause in their daily work and think of Tutu. And on the foreign scene, Garland Police Chief Jeff Bryan says a 14-year-old has been arrested in connection with a convenience store shooting in Garland. This was disclosed at a news conference, adding that the shooting left 3 people dead and 1 in critical condition. According to the police chief, the 3 victims from the Sunday shooting were all teenage boys from Garland. Reports say the gun used in the incident was a .40 caliber pistol with an extended magazine, adding that the suspect fired at least 20 rounds during the incident.
They've lost their loved ones. And so I'll be meeting with the families and whatever we can do as a community to come together and support them.
And still on the foreign scene, India's government has refused to renew the foreign funding license for a charity founded by Mother Teresa. The missionaries of charity